Hi guys! Sorry I can't be with you again today. I have some other meetings going on, but I have another fun project for you to do today. It is another one-day project. It should take you the full 45 minutes to do this if you use your craftsmanship skills the right way. Here is a black and white example of what you're going to be doing today. As you can see from the example, you're going to be using lines and patterns. Remember, a pattern in art is repeated lines, shapes, and colors. Here is an example of a bunch of patterns. For those of you who were here in 3rd grade, we did a Zentangle project and we created a reference sheet like this one. This is just a guide so you can see all of the different ways you can fill in the areas you're about to create. You do not have to use these, but these should help you come up with some ideas. The materials that you're going to need is a blank sheet of paper, a big chisel Sharpie, and the markers that are in your bin. So the first thing that you're going to do, bottom left-hand side of your paper, I need you to write your name and class code on the back. Okay, now that your name and class code is on the back, flip it over and I'm going to show you how you're going to get started. Remember, yours should not look like mine. We're different people, so your lines are going to look a little different, but you need to follow the directions. Remember, we're going to use this like curvy line, and it needs to go from one side of your paper to the other, and it can overlap, and you're going to draw that line about 5 to 7 times. Okay, so I'm starting here in this corner. I'm taking my line. I can make loops. It's nice, it's big, it's curvy, and as you can see, it goes from one side of the paper to the other. And then I'm going to start up here at this part, and I'm going to make another one. And it goes there. Notice the lines are overlapping and I'm creating these circles inside. So how many lines have I made so far? Hopefully you said 2. So I'm gonna make probably 3 more lines. So I am gonna turn my paper. Remember, it's not glued to your table. You can turn it however you need to make more lines. All right, I'm gonna come this way, and I'm going to bring it all the way over here. I'm turning my paper so I can make it and draw a little easier here. So that's 3 lines total. I'm looking at my paper. I know I said 5 to 7. I can definitely do one more, and then as the artist, I'm going to make a judgment if I can make one more line. So let's see what it's going to look like. Turn my paper a little more. I need to do something here. This is going to cross there. And I think I need to take it over this way. Done. All right. So I said 5 to 7, but after doing this myself, I think you can do 4, maybe 5 lines. Okay, so I have my lines done. I took my time and I went back over the lines to make them smoother because they were a little rough, and as you can see, they also look a little thicker. So once you're happy with the lines that you have, take your chisel marker and go ahead and go over those lines one more time. You can make some of them thicker if you want to, or you can leave them as is, but craftsmanship wise, I think they needed to be gone over. Okay, so now that you have your paper divided with this awesome curvy wavy line, you are going to take the markers in your bin and you are going to fill the sections with different patterns. We're not coloring anything in for this project. You are going to repeat lines and shapes inside the areas. So if you're looking at your paper, this whole area right here is going to be one pattern. There is no lines that's separated. So once you get going with something, you have to continue that all the way through. So I'll show you how to get started with that. So I am actually going to make little bitty rectangles. And all I'm going to do is repeat that over and over until that whole section is filled. I am kind of drawing them in between each one. You can think of this as a broken line that's repeated over and over. Again, there's no coloring anything in. If you want to, you're welcome to color inside the broken line or inside the little rectangles, but for now, I am just going to do this part. Even if it goes off the paper, you need to make sure you're drawing that. If you look right here by that line here, even if it's a half shape, you need to draw that so we can see the pattern. And it repeats all the way. So I've gotten a little more done. And as you can see, I'm not changing the direction that these lines are going in. They're staying vertical. And I just repeat it and continue all the way till I can't anymore. I'm not changing up the size. Once you pick a pattern, you have to stick with that throughout the entire shape. Even if it gets cut off by something, you keep going. And I'm going to continue it all the way down. Now, if you're working and you make a mistake, guys, I tell you this all the time. It's okay. It's art. You can color it in. You can turn it into something else. As long as you problem solve and work through it, it will be fine. Okay? Okay. There is one section done. Now, I don't want to repeat that pattern again, so that one's done. I don't really want to repeat that color again. If you have to repeat the color, that's fine. Just find a different place for it to go, maybe in a section down here, maybe the smaller section, but please don't use the same colors right next to each other. All right, and then all I'm gonna do is start with another pattern in another section. I think I'm gonna come here. I'm going to do diagonal lines. Remember, we're using our craftsmanship skills. It stays that way throughout the whole thing. You can go over. Now, I am not going through this circle. That is going to be a completely different pattern because it is closed off from the rest of this. So you need to make sure that the areas inside of the circles, that is a pattern all on its own. Do not do all simple patterns in these shapes. I said that it would take at least 45 minutes for you to do this, so I expect some creativity and some thought to go into these designs. And after looking, this is a really simple pattern. So I think I'm going to take another color and I'm going to go ahead and make a red with that orange. And this red isn't working, so I'm going to have to find a better marker and go over it in a second. All right, here we go. Problem solved. Found one that's working. Again, if your markers aren't working, raise your hand. Your sub can help you out. There's extra markers in your black bins at the end of the table. You're welcome to use those. Exchange it out. Don't throw away the markers. We can recycle them. just hand them to your sub. But if it's working and making a mark, guys, it will work for you. So again, I'm just going in and making this pattern a little more colorful. I'm adding one small line right next to it. If it touches, it's okay. If it doesn't, it's fine. I'm making this pattern my own. Okay, this is where craftsmanship comes into play. I am not liking this. I need to go and I need to make sure these lines are going off the paper. These are just little nitpicky things that you're gonna need to double check and make sure, but make sure those lines are going off the paper. If you get a little something on the table, it's fine, but I would just like for this to be nice and clean on the edges there. All right, pattern number 2 done, and I'm just gonna continue this until my whole page is filled. Remember, whenever you get to a circle inside, that is a different pattern. Your lines do not continue through. So make sure you work hard. You can come up with any kind of pattern, repeated line, shapes, and color. You can even write words inside of it because you are repeating. So go ahead, take your time, and fill up your spaces. All right, so all I'm doing now is going back and making little bitty lines inside certain rows just to add more to the design. Remember, some of them can be simple, but I really want you to use your creativity and think about how you can make some of these patterns more interesting. All right, I have all of the big areas filled, so now I just need to go back and add a pattern inside each one of the little circle areas. Okay, I am just adding tiny, tiny dots, kind of like chicken pecking, but I'm doing it very slow and controlled. That way there's not a little bitty line coming off of my dot. So this is totally a pattern you can do. Just make sure it's nice and controlled and you are not going too fast. All right, and finally, a finished piece. So make sure you take your time. I did have to repeat color markers, but they're not by a color that I already used. You can repeat patterns, just don't put them by each other, and take your time and have fun. That was a lot of hard work, but I know that you're totally capable of doing this. Take your time, don't rush. Just make sure you follow the directions. We went step by step through it in the video, and I can't wait to see what you create. If you finish early, your sub will have worksheets for you to do. You're not taking anything out of the room. Name and class code on the back of everything, and I'll see you whenever I get back. Bye.